So, why is it valuable to be humble about your work? Hi everyone. Welcome back to the Creative Exploration series. This week, I wanted to talk about the idea of being humble about your art and why you should respect it as something bigger than you. And what I mean by this is you shouldn't really just go around talking about how great you think you are all the time, because that just ends up making you look bad in the long run. And now, this is very different from marketing as well. I wanted to be very clear about that. Your art might be great, but your art isn't you. And when you're marketing, you're basically building awareness of your art. You're not necessarily trying to convince somebody that it's good. You're just trying to tell them that it exists. And I want to do a future creative exploration episode on that because I think it's a very important distinction. And I kind of talked about this generally on the Talking About Yourself episode from a while ago, where once you release a piece of art, it's not really yours in the traditional sense anymore. It's kind of everybody's to experience and listen to and whatever. It's not necessarily yours. Like, you're the creator of it, but it's not yours in the same way. It's not like your project anymore. And in the Talking About Yourself episode, I made a very clear distinction on how you should talk about your art after it's been released. I said that it's really good to talk about it as an object rather as something that's yours. So I would say the album rather than my album. And I think that it creates a degree of separation between your art and yourself. And I think that that's important to stay humble with your art. Now, obviously, if it turns into like this strange grammatical puzzle, don't worry about it, but I think the mindset is really the key for this. Once it's out of your hands, it's no longer your project, it's the piece or the project or the album or the story or the game or whatever. And it's a bit of a strange distinction, but I think it helps quite a bit when it comes to differentiating yourself between yourself, your art, your style, and the work that you've created in the past. So if you have a really big head about this stuff, or if you have a big ego and you're not being humble about your work, it really starts to make you look like just a jerk and somebody who is so full of themselves they can't really deal with anybody else. And what this does is this creates distance. It creates friction between yourself and your audience. And now, for some artists, this has definitely worked in the past, and that's good on them, I guess. But I've found that being open and accessible and humble about your work is much better at bringing people in and making people interested about your work rather than being distant and aloof and just kind of full of yourself. And even better than all this, if you're not talking about yourself, you can talk about other people. You can talk to other people. You can make time for others. And I think that it's incredibly important to take the time to listen to others and help them out if they need it, especially if they're just starting out. You can sit down and offer guidance and support and advice to navigate some of the pitfalls that you had problems with early on in your career. And not only does this make you a much more accessible artist, but it also forges very valuable connections with other artists that you might be able to leverage in the future. One comparison that I like to make is something like Game Grumps, where two relatively successful artists or YouTubers or animators got together and they started making stuff, and they basically just kind of pooled both of their fan bases together into this new project, and that jump-started the whole thing. And obviously Game Grumps got popular for a lot of different reasons, but I have a feeling that they got popular to some degree because of having that base audience right away. And knowing people and being accessible to other artists allow you to do that kind of stuff, and I think that that's really great. I mean, really, it's all about those connections. And remember, this isn't really a competition. Like, all of us artists have the same goal in mind, and there's no reason why we can't help each other get us there together. So let me know what you think about this topic in the comments. I'd really love to hear your opinions on this. It's been something that's been bouncing around in my head for a little while, and it's definitely a mindset that I try to follow in my life. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Be remarkable. As always, this video is sponsored by these amazing Patreon subscribers. Thank you guys so much for your support.